The Chattanooga community is rallying around a former staff member from McCallie who lost his home and many of his possessions in the flood. Channel 3's Travis Cummings spoke to him by phone today. Travis, how are they helping him out?
Greg, this is Steve Bartlett. He worked for McCallie for 40 years. This is the GoFundMe created to help him out. The goal initially was $10,000 in 24 hours, more than $116,000 raised. Bartlett says it's the perfect example of why Tennessee is known as the volunteer state.
This was not a flood, it was a tsunami.
Massive flooding caused by record-breaking rainfall in Middle Tennessee leaves Steve Bartlett and several of his neighbors in Waverly without a place to call home. At least 20 people have died.
My house is maybe 18 inches off the ground, and it rose to 5 feet inside the house.
Bartlett took refuge in his attic.
Fairly quickly, the rescue squad people came, and they said, "You better get out of here."
That was the last time he'd see a part of his life. He started to build there 10 years ago.
And I've had, I don't know, probably over 1,000 books. Well, now I have 10.
Bert traveled quickly to Chattanooga and to McCallie High School, where Bartlett counseled students and taught for 40 years.
Tried to call him and he didn't answer, so I was pretty worried. And then to be able to hear from him on Monday morning to know he was okay was obviously really important.
His former co-worker and friend Jeff Kurtzman put together a GoFundMe. More than $100,000 raised and messages from those whose lives Bartlett's impacted in just one day.
Somebody like Steve, you know, who just gave so much of himself and had been here so long and touched so many different lives. I should have known that the community would come through for him.
It's just so nice when you can have an affection for something like that, and they reciprocate.
Multiple communities and agencies helping with recovery. Bartlett says no wonder Tennessee is the volunteer state.
And that's just the spirit.
And Bartlett is in a church shelter right now. He's doing pretty well. I spoke to him on the phone earlier. He says people have been extremely helpful, providing clothes, food, access to disaster resources. He's 72, so he says this will be the beginning of another chapter. He plans to relocate to St. Louis to be closer to family. In the studio, Travis Cummings, Channel 3 Eyewitness News.